For the third time in 2 years, the European Union is ordering Google to pay more than $1 billion for breaking EU rules. That's the first story we're explaining today on CNN 10. I'm Carl Azus. The first time had to do with shopping. In 2017, the EU accused Google of using its own search engine to steer shoppers to its own shopping platform instead of those of its competitors.
Search for almost anything you could buy online, and right at the top, Google will first offer you a box with a selection of that product, say jeans. And if you go further and click on it, Google directs you to its own Google shopping page. The European Commission argues that by promoting its own business and banishing other search websites to around the fourth page of search results, what Google is doing is really denying anyone else a chance to compete and denying consumers with what it calls a genuine choice.
The EU said that was unfair and fined the company $2.7 billion, a record at the time. Google said it disagreed and that it tried to show ads in ways that helped buyers and sellers. But then another fine came last summer. The EU ordered Google to pay $5 billion, a new record amount, for requiring and paying smartphone makers to install Google applications on phones before they were sold, and for preventing makers from selling phones that ran on alternative versions of Android, Google's operating system. The EU said Google was breaking the law. Google disagreed, saying Android had created more choices for everyone, not less. The technology company has not paid these fines yet. It's appealing them through the court system. Now, though, it has a third one to address. The one Google was ordered to pay Wednesday. It's worth $1.7 billion. Again, it's about hindering competition. The European Union says Google prevented its competitors from advertising on certain websites. This went on for 10 years between 2006 and 2016. And after European lawyers objected to it in 2016, Google stopped doing it. Since then, Google says it's made a, quote, wide range of changes in order to address the Commission's concerns. The company says more changes are ahead based on what it calls feedback from Europe. And as far as the latest fine goes, Google says it respectfully disagrees with it. But with American companies like Google, Apple, and Facebook being so dominant around the world, Europe's been closely watching them and sometimes actively confronting them over competition, privacy, and tax issues. So all of this is only part of the tension between U.S. internet and tech companies and international governments. Next today, we're returning to Southeast Africa, where people in 3 countries are struggling after catastrophic weather events. Rain and flooding in the coastal nation of Mozambique was only worsened when Cyclone Idai made landfall on March 14th. Since then, it's been a race for rescuers to first locate where survivors are and then get them to safety. Yesterday, officials estimated there were 10,000 people holding on to rooftops as the rain continued and the waters rose. The International Federation of Red Cross says it's using helicopters and boats to rescue people, as many as 1,000 per day in Mozambique alone. No one knows yet how many have been killed across the region where the Category 2 cyclone stormed inland. An ambassador from Mozambique says as many as 350,000 lives are at risk. The emergency won't end when the rescue effort does. Water, electricity, medical services, and major repairs will all be needed to confront this disaster.
Cyclone Idai slammed into southern Africa late last week, cutting across countries and devastating entire cities.
Beira, a city of 500,000 in Mozambique, in the epicenter of the storm. Aid agencies say 90% of it is underwater. The cyclone slammed into the city with winds of up to 175 kilometers or 110 miles an hour, destroying hospitals and homes and killing untold numbers. Some help is already there. Search and rescue teams are working tirelessly to get people to safety. The cyclone winds were bad enough, but the flooding is much worse, say aid officials, creating what they are calling an inland ocean. And the threat will increase as more rains set in. Beira's airport is open, but roads into the city are cut off and phone connections mostly down. Outside of Beira, nobody knows how many people are dead or injured, cut off entirely from help. Idai's destructive path pummeled Mozambique, Malawi, and Zimbabwe, with nearly 1.7 million people in its path. Communities near Chimanimani, Zimbabwe, are devastated. The storm destroyed roads, homes, bridges, and communication lines. The human loss is far greater. The true destructive power of E-Day is only now being understood, and aid officials tell me that the next step is trying to get those rural people to safety. David Mackenzie, Johannesburg.
10-second trivia. The USS Wasp was the name of an aircraft carrier that was sunk in the Coral Sea during what war? World War I, World War II, Korean War, or Gulf War? Several United States ships, including one that serves now, have been named the Wasp, but it was in World War II that one of them was sunk in the Coral Sea. We're wrapping up today's show with the rise of esports, or better said, another example of how esports are rising. Video gaming has gotten more competitive, more organized, sometimes more lucrative. Top gamers can earn millions of dollars per year, and they've got a fan base all their own. Some U.S. high schools are now proving the traction of esports by offering students the chance to letter in them. Their field is a screen.
Got him. Let's go. Nice.
At one point in time, this would just be a set of students playing video games. But here in Georgia, it's now an official high school varsity sport, as it is in only 7 other states nationwide.
It's a hobby that they're passionate about, and we want to encourage that and give them a pathway to a career in the future.
Kids could be walking around with letter jackets for gaming. That's nuts to me, and I love it.
Dr. Lupo, as he's known, plays video games for a living and streams his gameplay live for an audience of more than 7 million followers online. It's part of why State Farm signed him to an endorsement deal. A gamer.
I was like, wait, like State Farm? Like really?
When we have Aaron Rodgers covering football and we work with Chris Paul in the NBA space, we've been starting to get much more involved in esports.
And they're not the only ones. If you watch the Super Bowl, then you probably remember this ad from the NFL.
Tonight is not about the league.
What's up, Juju?
Only that waiter wasn't a football player. He's a video gamer who goes by Ninja.
Those fans are as fanatic about their teams and the teams that they love in their esports world as I might be of the Chicago Cubs or the Chicago Bears.
It's a reality that makes a video game varsity season not too far-fetched.
It is such an honor because it's something that I've been trying to push and get into for a long time.
And fans say it's likely going to get even more competitive.
I got very lucky. It took a lot of work to get to where I am now, and even then, it's still not a guarantee.
No guarantee, but maybe more than ever, there are dreams.
Hey, pro teams, yo, Cloud9.
Old school gamers were Oregon Trail winners. They'd be fording all their rivers and hunting all their dinners. While some might take delight in Fortnite, others say their Call of Duty is a Counter-Strike. Is a day coming when game fans are gumming up? All the gyms, auditoriums, and running up, treating gamers like heroes of the storm, gearing up for battles like Gears of War. We'll have to Overwatch to see what life brings. One thing's for sure, it's all fun and games. I'm Carl Zeus, and that's a wrap for CNN.